Hello and welcome. Today we are setting up a development environment. Here I have a computer that I have reset so that all the software has been removed so that I can set it up from scratch and show you all how it's done. Some of you might already know how to do some of this, but the first item we're going to do is we're going to install Google Chrome on here just as soon as Microsoft Edge is done torturing us with their things. Google, and usually it tells us right away. Here we have removed the bookmarks that came with it. We're going to set our own bookmark. Alright, so we have the browser installed. The next step is to install Python. We need Python because we are going to prototype software. When we do calculations, we need to try them out in Python first. Alright, so what we've done here is Spyder was having some trouble with the Python installation, so we went ahead and we installed Python from python.org, I think it was. And now we're about to see if the packages we need are installed or not, and those that are not installed we will install. Alright, so nothing is installed. We need to install. Alright, so the next step is to open Spyder and try to run our program again and see if it gives us errors. If it does, we'll need to resolve them. So from here it looks like it's using the incorrect Python, first of all. Alright, so that's just a message that's saying we need to install a couple of one or two modules, or one module. Looks like we need ffmpeg. Let's do this. And actually ffmpeg is a software that we would need anyway, so this is good that it asks for it. I take this bin, we copy it, and we add it to our user path. Alright, we have no errors now, so we have Python installed and we can prototype mathematical computations. And just for future reference, if you need any future Python packages, you are welcome to use pip install in the package name. So that should be simple now that we have it set up. The next step is to install Android Studio because we are going to be writing an Android app. There are other ways to write Android apps too, but we'll be using Android Studio. Yay, we earned a badge, whatever that means. So while this is downloading, just a quick note, there obviously are iOS apps as well, which we could develop, but there are two reasons why I'm having us proceed with Android. Reason number one is because, well, I'm more familiar with it. I was always, for a long time, I didn't have an Apple computer, just because PCs were cheaper, and Android phones were more affordable too. But the second reason to go with Android, for now at least, is because well, Android phones are more affordable. You can just buy one for cheap. You can buy one for less than $100 and you can write apps for it, whereas you can't do that with iPhones. So here we go. Alright, the Android Studio setup wizard is stuck for me. Let's see, and task. Let's try that again. Let's pin this to our taskbar. Okay, this is bad. I'm going to try restarting this computer, okay? Mandy is the name of my cat. I think I'm just going to leave it here and then maybe come back in a few hours, see if it is still stuck here. Oh, actually, never mind. I guess it just wanted me to click that button. One of the two buttons. Okay, that was confusing. Just saying, Google, if you're seeing this, you made the UI confusing. Like, yeah, the window was just frozen unless you click the buttons, and that's not intuitive. Okay. Speaking of which, when you write apps, don't do that in your apps. Like, you want your user to have only like 2 options, or maybe 3 options. But if you show like, how many options was that? Like, Okay, you can move the window, that's one option. You can click next, you can click finish, you can click back, you can click send, you can click don't send. That's like 6 options, and you can't do 4 of those options. That confuses people. Just don't show the other buttons. Just only show the buttons that they're allowed to do. All right. So one of the settings you might want is show white spaces, because sometimes when you work with version control, yeah, you might mess up the formatting. Like you might accidentally insert a tab and you won't know it because you're not showing white spaces. So that helps with keeping the code style consistent and keeping your software teammates sane when they review your code. We will keep everything as is, but what we need to do is we need to test this out on a real device. So let's do this. Here we have an Android phone. This is a fresh phone. I have not configured it yet. What you need to do is go to settings on the phone if you have not configured it yet. So go to settings, and then you want to enable developer tools. Yeah, okay. So you go to the very bottom, you go to about phone, then you find the build number in here. Let's see, where's the build number? Build number. You need to tap the build number 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. I need to enter the PIN. There we go. You are now a developer. Yay. So now we activated the developer mode. All right. There are various settings in here. I recommend just leaving most of them because you are going to have issues if you change the wrong setting. So only change settings that you know what they do, because you might break your phone if you're not careful. And I'm not responsible if you change something that I didn't tell you to change. Okay, so USB debugging is the only setting that we are going to change. On. Allow. Development. Data. Install apps. And log data. Yeah, so you do not want to do this with when you plug into a computer that you don't know. You don't want this on, ideally. This is only for your computer, and it allows the computer to do certain things to your phone. So be careful, okay? Maybe use a cheap phone with this. But we can do this. What we need is we take a USB cable. This USB cable is plugged into the computer. We are going to plug it into the phone now. Ooh, allow. So yeah, for this computer, we are going to allow, and I don't know what that is. Skip. Okay, so on the computer here we have options. Ooh, yeah, it shows us that the Sony is available for debugging. So we can click either run or debug. We're going to debug. It will of course build first. All right, yay. Launch succeeded. Okay, so we have some software that's on this computer that's running on this phone now. So we did it. Replace with your own action. Yeah, that's just a placeholder. First fragment, second fragment. Yeah, okay. That's just a placeholder. So this is just a template. We didn't even write any code. We just used the code from there. So yeah, we'll need Android Studio. We'll need to do packages at some point, but I'll show you how to do that later. You can do that. You don't have to have any setup to use packages. Let's see. I suppose we can try out breakpoint. So if you click here, it sets a breakpoint. You click anywhere where there's code to be executed. So you can click debug again. That will terminate the app. It will launch it again. And then it will, ta-da! It paused the code here. So we can mouse over and see what these things are. So that's, we can like, you know, if you've used the debugger before, you'll be familiar with this. But basically that's what it is. We can let go of the breakpoint and then in here, just resume program. And of course the phone has to fall asleep. I'm going to configure my phone to not fall asleep so fast. Okay, well, now we have Android Studio. What else? Oh, Git. Right, we need Git. So let's unplug this. What we are now also going to do, we're going to terminate this. We can also launch the app in an emulator, but that takes more configuration and sometimes it doesn't work. I'm not going to bother with that right now. You can just use a phone. Alright, so now that we have Git installed, we should be able to use the git command. Okay, so up next we are going to configure the SSH. You can right click just anywhere on the desktop, for instance, do git bash here, type cd, hit enter, that takes us to the home directory. Now ls.ssh, we don't have one, so we can do ssh keygen trsa b4096, enter. Where to save it, we just hit enter, we don't put anything. For the passphrase, we leave it blank, don't put anything, hit enter again, and there we go. And then we do cat.ssh idrsa.pub, hit enter. That is our public key that we can use to sign into GitHub and whatnot. And by the way, this is a throwaway public key. I'm not actually going to, don't post this key anywhere. Like in this case, I'm posting this in my video. So this is obviously, I'm not going to use this key to authenticate into systems. But this is what you want to do is starting with the IDRSA and ending with where it ends over there. You want to copy that text. And then you go to your GitHub, github.com or GitLab or something. So this is GitHub. So you can sign up if you don't have one yet. See, what do we do? info@mandysoftware.com. Okay, let's do that. Create a password. So then you check your email, they sent you a code. All right, so here we can create a new repository, or we can, what we need to do is we first need to go to our settings. And we go to our, on the left here, SSH and GPG keys. New SSH key. So this is, I'm going to name this temporary. Please delete after making video, just so that I remember about it. And then we do paste. So we pasted this code that we copied from here, that we generated. Then we add it. And then now we can use it to authenticate. Let's go to home, repositories, and then we want to, this Android Studio project that we just created, we want to figure out where it is first of all. Where did we even put it? So let's see, we mouse over it and it tells us where it is. Users Mandy Android Studio projects, my application. Okay, cool. Alright, so we can do that. We can do this either from git bash, or we can actually open a command prompt and do the same thing. So we can cd Android Studio projects. And then we have just the my application here. And then what we need to do, it does already have a git ignore for us, but we don't have a .git directory in here. Like, we don't have .git in here. Actually, we're going to click new in here. Let's see, test Android Studio, my application. Okay, so we do that, and then we can put a description or not. This will be, let's make it public, sure. Why not? There's nothing private in there. So we have everything, leave everything blank here. Oh, and one other thing you want to do before you continue is git config global user.name, we'll put Mandy software. For me, git config global user.email, and I'll put info@mandysoftware.com. We can follow the steps from here, but don't do git add readme, just git init, git add dot, git status, that shows us what we have added, git commit, initial commit in this case, git status, so we're good, git log shows us that we have the initial commit. All right, and then we just do git remote add origin, and then we need to paste this URL in here, copy, and then let's see, how do you paste? Right click, yeah, enter. Okay, git push u origin master, enter. Oh no, this is not allowing us to. It's asking us for a username. What is this? That means we don't have the SSH configured correctly. Actually, no, we have SSH configured correctly. We just don't want to. We want to use SSH, not HTTPS. Okay. Git remove origin. Git remote add origin, but this time use the git at GitHub instead of the SSH. Yeah, so I recommend use SSH because with HTTPS you have to like do whatever authentication, and yeah, with SSH you can just do SSH keygen and u origin master, and that should work. In this case, since we are sure that this is the correct github.com, we type yes and hit enter, and that's it. We've pushed our changes, so we do git status, and we're up to date with origin. We can refresh this page, it shows us what we have here now. Yeah, so we have our app in here. We have our Android app in GitHub, and so if, for instance, we had a situation where like, oh, I don't have my computer anymore, I need a new computer, you can set up Android Studio just as usual, and then you do, let's see, let's clear the screen, git clone, and then you paste the path to the repository, and then optionally you can do, actually, well, optionally, by default it'll name it whatever the repository name is, so test Android Studio my application, but in this case I'll just say my app. If you add that last argument, then it'll name it my app. If you don't add it, it'll name it whatever the repository is. So let's hit enter, it'll clone it. And so now you have my app is in there. Yay! You go to file and then you go to open. And we can minimize this. And now my app is an option. Yeah, so we can open my app. Trust projects in. Okay, potentially malicious. Let's open in this window. Yeah, Android Studio has options. You can open 2 windows on different projects, or you can open in the same window. Alright, so with Android Studio we can write Android apps, but there is one more that we might use later, and that is, I'm thinking we should probably install Node too, because with Node we can write React apps, we can write Angular if we want, we can create a web server if we want, so it's a pretty useful app. Let's install it too. Might use it later. We'll go for the LTS, long-term support, that we download. Boy, this is a lot to read. I don't know how they expect us to read all that. Yeah, let's automatically install other tools. Ooh, right. Okay, so it looks like everything went well. It just didn't install Python 3, which we didn't want it to anyway, because we already had installed Python on our own before this. Where Python, just make sure that we have, well, Python 3 is something else, but Python is our Python, which is good. We're all good. Alright, let's see if npm is, looks like we do have access to npm, and we do have access to node, which is good, node 18, so we're all good. And then, let's see, yeah, if we wanted to do like Angular or React or something, we can install that using npm, so that's fine. We'll worry about that later. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Okay, so we have two more items to install. One is Notepad++, very useful if we're going to edit anything outside of the two IDEs that we've got installed. It's basically a notepad, but it allows us to do so much more. Just be careful which download button you click, because I think this one is fake. Yeah, you can see in the bottom left of the screen, double click .net, that's an advertisement. You don't want to click it. Now if you mouse over this on the bottom left it says github.com/notepad++. This is an actual download button. This is an ad, this is a download button. We can do portable or installer. If you're not allowed to install things, you can do portable, but we'll do an installer. So it's here. We will pin it to the taskbar so that we have it just in case. So here it is not showing the white space. We're going to go to View, Show Symbol, White Space, and Tab. So this way you can see the little dots and the arrows for tabs. Let's go Control O, that opens. We'll go to User Profile, Downloads, vimrc.txt, and so these are the configurations that I use for Vim normally. Let's do Windows right arrow, that does that for us. Do right click, git bash here, Windows left arrow, escape, cd, enter puts us into home, and then we just need to type this stuff into a vimrc here. Basically we can just do, and this character is going to be, let's see, run plugins converter ASCII to hex. So this is C2B7. Yeah, that's a Unicode character. You can paste a dot in there, or you can use a different character to represent spaces, such as maybe a minus sign perhaps. But we're going to go, so this is also partly a quick thing on using Vim. So you type VI, that actually opens Vim. You can do Vim or VI. I'm efficient with my keystrokes, so I only type VI, it still opens Vim. Okay, VI and then dot vimrc, dot vimrc, right? This is, it has to be in the home directory though, so this tilde has to be there. So hit enter, and these instructions, by the way, this vim thing works on Windows, Linux, Macintosh, whereas something like Notepad++ will only work on Windows. So this is good. So we are in Vim. Now, in order to insert, we hit I. So you can see bottom left, it says insert. We are in insert mode. We can start typing script, encoding UTF-8, set encoding equals UTF-8, set number. That'll enable line numbers so that we can see auto indent. Let's see, set auto indent. Okay, that will enable auto indent, obviously, right? Set expand tab, and then set tab stop equals 4. These next ones, soft tab stop equals 4. These next ones, they will make sure that Vim indents with 4 spaces for us instead of using tabs. And I think that's partly what expand tab does too. So then we can do set list. I think list does character displays, but I'm not. I just remember Googling how to do this one time and it said to do that. So space. So the space character should render as, we can render it as a dot like this, or we can use a minus sign. It'll be color coded, so you can differentiate it from a normal minus sign. Set list chars minus equals, so EOL $. Okay, what that does is, usually if you set list, Vim will print the $sign at the end of each line, and that drives me a little bit crazy, so I take it out by using this line right here, and then set status sign plus equals %O. I don't remember what that setting does, but I use it. Color scheme default. Sometimes Vim comes without color, so it's better. Syntax on. We do want syntax highlighting. Set HL search. I don't even remember what these do. Visual bell. Well, these are good settings anyway. So we hit escape to exit out of insert mode, and then we start typing :W, enter. That writes the file. That's the Control S equivalent. Don't do Control S in Vim. You might freeze the screen. Then you'll need like Control Q or something to unfreeze it. So then :Q, enter, that exits. All right, so now if we open vimrc in here, you can see that it printed the line numbers, and instead of spaces, it does these hyphen things. So what we can do, so A, I just hit A, and we are in append mode, actually insert mode, but it puts the cursor after the character you were on. We'll do backspace. I'll put this weird character back in just because this system supports it. So hit escape, :WQ. Now if we do this, now all the spaces are these dots, right? So we can see that, and then tabs are obviously replaced with spaces. So now if we don't want to say, we do Q and then exclamation point, we hit enter. Navigating in Vim is, you can either use the arrow keys to go up and down, but that's like, you need to move your hand all the way here. So instead you can also use the K key to go up, J to go down, let's see, L to go right, H to go left, Control U goes half a page up, Control D goes half a page down. Pretty useful, right? If you want to copy paste, you can do that. So you can do, if you hit V, it enters this visual mode. You hit D, it deletes that. You hit P, it pastes that. I'm gonna undo this. Okay, U undoes, by the way. Okay, so you can also do Shift V, does visual. You can go up and down and select multiple lines like this. You can hit D to delete it, then you hit P to paste it. Now you can also select and then hit Y to yank it, which is kind of the equivalent of copy. Then you hit P to paste it, Shift P to paste above, right? Okay, so yeah, I'll exit without saving, Q exclamation point. Yeah, so Vim is a really cool, awesome text editor that you use from the command line. You can't use it from the command prompt, you can only use it from a bash, such as git bash, or on Mac or Linux. You can also use it. So yeah, we've set up Vim, we've set up Notepad++, and I think that's it for now.